Okay, so I just want to make a quick video talking about what we did for the A group, what we did in class on Tuesday, and what we're going to talk about in class on Wednesday with the B group. This would be a good idea if you've missed some time in class with being out. Watch this for sure before you take the third quiz for chapter 4. So what we've got here, we had talked about the isosceles decomposition conjecture. This is another way to kind of word this thing. And so what it says is in an isosceles triangle, so here we've got an isosceles triangle, an angle bisector of the vertex, so if it splits the vertex in half, that same exact line is going to be the same thing as three other things. It's going to be a median, meaning it's going to split the bottom exactly in half. It's going to be an altitude, meaning that it's perpendicular to the base and goes through the vertex. And it's going to be a perpendicular bisector, which means it's perpendicular to the base and splits it in half. So another thing to think about, or another way to think about this is, in an isosceles triangle, if I draw a line down the middle, there's three things that could happen. It could split the angle in half, it could be perpendicular, or it could split the side in half. And if it does one of those three things, it automatically does all three of those three things. And so if you look at something like this, here we've got this blue line that splits the vertex in half. So we automatically know that these two pieces are congruent. If this side is 5, then this side is 5. Same thing with these angles. If this is 65, then this is 65. We also get to know that this angle down here, if I can get my pen to connect, this angle down here is 90. Which also lets us find out that this angle, using the triangle sum conjecture, 65, 90, and then what's left over, well, that'd be 25. So when we have these isosceles triangles with this line down the middle, as long as we know something about it, these two pieces of a triangle are exactly the same as each other. They're mirror images. We've got 90 degrees in the middle, and we can still use all the things we used to know. So here's another example. We've got an isosceles triangle again. This time we know that it splits the base in half. And so now we can use that to help us out. If I've got 15 degrees up here and I'm finding this, right away you don't really see a way to do it, but you got to remember, because this is a median, it splits the side in half, it is also 90 degrees. And so we've got a 90-degree angle there. And now we can use our triangle sum conjecture. 15 plus 90 plus x has to equal 180, so we can subtract. And we should end up with, I think, 75. Okay. Last one here, you're going to see some questions where they talk about the perimeter. Well, perimeter of a triangle, again, just means the distance all the way around. But remember, this is an isosceles triangle. So if you've got 5 there, you know you have 5 there. Now, using the perimeter, 5 plus 5 is 10. It needs to make 14. So that means this side has to be 4. Now, we're supposed to be finding BD. And at this point, there's no marks on this blue line. So at this point, we don't know anything special. But the nice thing about this is, as soon as I add in one little bit of information, I make that a 90-degree angle. Now, this conjecture applies. So that 90-degree angle makes that thing an altitude, which means it also has to split the base in half. So this is 2. Okay, so on this quiz, you're going to see questions about basically 3 things. Triangle congruence actually is the standard before this, but I wanted to put a few more questions on there because they do relate to those flowchart proofs quite a bit. There's still a lot of deductive reasoning going on when you're doing those. There'll be some flowchart proofs. There'll be one fill in the blank and one where you're going to have to write your own. And then there'll be some questions about those isosceles triangles that we just talked about. So a lot of questions, or some of the first questions you're going to see, are going to look like this. They're going to give you pictures, and they're going to ask you, just what we've been doing, which conjecture would tell you that those two triangles are congruent. The biggest thing I can suggest, especially if you're doing this on the computer, if you're doing the Canvas quiz, which you are, draw a picture on a piece of paper and put these things in. So when it says angle B is congruent to angle D, take the time to mark that on your picture. If it says AB is congruent to FD, mark that. And if it says BC is congruent to DE, mark that. Once you get them actually marked on the picture, it's a whole lot easier to go ahead and say, okay, well, there's a side, there's an angle, there's a side. So it's got to be SAS. Just by looking at these up here, I know there's two pairs of sides, and I know there's a pair of angles, but I'd have to keep it all in my head. So draw it down on the picture. It'll really help out. The second thing you're going to have to do is fill in a triangle congruence statement. So it'll say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, and you'll have to fill in the blank. Big thing there is just match up the letters. So A and F go together. So F has to come first. B and D come together, and C and E go together. So we have our congruence statement. Ones that you're really going to want to watch out for are when you have parallel lines. So remember, parallel, the symbol, if it's written on the page, is this. Sorry, my pen's cutting out here. Maybe I can get this to work. So if it's parallel, XY is parallel to ZW, that's what these things mean. We also have these congruent symbols. So the congruent symbols are the same length. Parallel symbols, though, aren't telling you it's the same length. It's telling you that these two lines are parallel to each other. Now, if you remember back from the beginning of the year, I guess, closer to the beginning of the year, we talked about parallel lines, and we know that the alternate interior angles are congruent if we have parallel lines. So that's why that information is being given to you. We also have the side in the middle. So in this case, we've got SAS. The angle there is between the two sides, so it's SAS. You'll also have to look out for the fact that they kind of switch on you. So if I went XY, W, the angle X in this triangle matches up with angle W in this triangle. Y goes with Z, and then W, the angle W in this triangle, actually matches up with the angle X. So they're kind of flip-flopped. Okay, last one here looks kind of similar, but I've changed enough that this one's a little different. We've still got our shared side. And if you look, you've still got these parallel lines, which means you've got these alternate interior angles. But now if you look at this, you've got a side there, a side there. If you look in the middle, though, that's not the angle we're talking about. We're talking about this angle over here. So that's our SSA. So these ones are not congruent, or there's not enough information, I guess is probably a better way to say it. So be on the lookout for that. You're going to see parallel lines and things where you have to do this. Now, you've got access. This worksheet is up on Canvas. I think I posted it last week for everybody. So take a look back to last week on the Friday. I'll probably also just post it again today. The quiz is shorter than this. I'm not going to ask you 6 of these questions, but there will be a couple. They'll be more like this, where you'll have to give me the congruent statement and the conjecture. There'll be a fill in the blank proof a lot like this. There'll be a few of these questions where you've got to find the missing sides and angles. And then there'll be a proof that you have to write all on your own. For the proof that you write on your own, the easiest thing to do for that is going to be to write it out on paper, take a picture of it, and then upload that picture as your answer to the quiz. There's a button right on the quiz screen where you can upload an image. It looks like a little landscape where you've got like some rolling hills and then like a sun above it. That's your picture insert button. Let me know if you've got some questions. You're free to email me. Hopefully I get to see some of you back here pretty soon. But yeah, there you go.